GGM, everybody. Good God morning. GGM, GGM. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? If you can hear me, can you press one, please? You can hear me. Please press one if you can. Press one if you can hear me, please. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Been having issues with the phone. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm hoping you can hear me. But okay, good. That helps. All right, well, GGM. So today, uh, Anthony couldn't make it. He's pulled away. He had to take care of some business. So you guys are stuck with me by myself. Stuck with me. You're stuck with me. So y'all ready to go into this? We're gonna be reading 4 chapters today. You guys are ready? So here we are, man. We are at, hold on. I'm in the wrong. There we go. I'm in the wrong chapters. So today we're gonna be reading 4 chapters. And again, it's just me by myself, so bear with me. These names be killing. So bear with me. All right, we're starting at 2 Samuel chapter 16, guys. 2 Samuel chapter 16. Let's go into it. And it reads, when David was a little past the top of the mountain, there was Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, who met with him a couple of saddled donkeys, and on them 200 loaves of bread, 100 clusters of raisins, 100 summer fruits, and a skin of wine. And the king said to Ziba, what do you mean to do with these? So Ziba said, the donkeys are for the king's household to ride on, the bread and the summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine for those who are faint in the wilderness to drink. And the king said, and where is your master's son? And Ziba said to the king, indeed, he is staying in Jerusalem, for he said, today the house of Israel will restore the kingdom of my father to me. So the king said to Ziba, here, all that belongs to Mephibosheth is yours. And Ziba said, I humbly bow before you, that I may find favor in your sight, O my lord, O king. Now when King David came to Bahurim, there was a man from the family of those house of Saul, whose name was Shimei, the son of Gera, coming from there. He came out cursing continuously as he came, and he threw stones at David and at all the servants of King David. And all the people of all the mighty men were on the right hand and on his left. Also, Shimei said thus when he cursed, come out, you bloodthirsty men, you rogue. The Lord has brought you upon all the blood of the house of Saul, and those in whose place you have reigned. And the Lord has delivered the kingdom into the hand of Absalom, your son. So now you are caught in your own evil because you are a bloodthirsty man. Then Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, said to the king, why should this dead dog curse my lord, the king? Please let me go over and take off his head. But the king said, what have I do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? So let him curse, because the Lord has said to him, curse David. Who then shall say, who have you done so? Why have done so? And David said to Abishai and all his servants, see how my son, who came from my own body, seeks my life? How much more now may this Benjamite let him alone, and let him curse? For so the Lord has ordered him. It may be that the Lord will look on my affliction, and that the Lord will repay me with good for his cursing this day. And as David and his men went along to the road, Shimei went along the hillside opposite him and cursed as he went, threw stones at him, and kicked up dust. Now the king and all the people who were with him became weary, so they refreshed themselves there. Meanwhile, Absalom and all the people, the men of Israel, came to Jerusalem, and Ahithophel was with them. And so it was, when Hushai the Archite, David's friend, came to Absalom, and Hushai said to Absalom, "Long live the king, long live the king." So Absalom said to Hushai, is this your loyalty to your friend? Why did you not go with your friend? And Hushai said to Absalom, No, but whom the Lord and this people and all the men of Israel choose, his I will be, and with him I will remain. Furthermore, whom should I serve? Should I not serve in the presence of his son, as I have served your father's presence? So will I be in your presence. And Absalom said to Ahithophel, give advice as to what we should do. And Ahithophel said to Absalom, go in to your father's concubines, whom he has left to keep the house, and all Israel will hear that you are abhorred by your father. And the hands of all who are with you will be strong. So they pitched a tent for Absalom on the top of the roof, on top of the house, and Absalom went into his father's concubines in the sight of all of Israel. Now the advice of Ahithophel, which he gave in those days, was as if one had inquired at the oracle of God. So was all the advice of Ahithophel, both with David and with Absalom. We're at chapter 17. Give me for these names. Moreover, Ahithophel said to Absalom, now let me choose 12,000 men, and I will raise and pursue David tonight. I will come up with him while he is weary and weak, and make him afraid. And all the people who are with him will flee, and I will strike only the king. Then I will bring back all the people to you. When all return, except the man whom you seek, all the people will be at peace. And the saying pleased Absalom and all the elders of Israel. Then Absalom said, I'll call Hushai the Archite, Hushai also, and let us hear what he says too. And when Hushai came to Absalom, Absalom spoke to him, saying, Ahithophel has spoken in this manner. Shall we do as he says? If not, speak up. So Hushai said to Absalom, the advice that Ahithophel has given is not good at this time. For said Hushai, you know your father and his men, that they are mighty men, and they are enraged in their minds, like a bear robbed of her cubs in the field. And your father is a man of war, and will not camp with the people. Surely by now he is hidden in some pit or in some other place. And it will be when some of them are overthrown at this first, that whoever hears it will say, there is a slaughter among the people who follow Absalom. And even he who is valiant, whose heart is like the heart of a lion, will melt completely. For all Israel know that your father is a mighty man, and those who are with him are valiant men. Therefore I advise that all Israel be fully gathered to you, from Dan to Beersheba, like the sand that is by the sea for the multitude, and that you go to battle in person. So come up, we will come upon him in the same place where he may be found, and we will fall on him as the dew falls on the ground. And of him and all the men who are with him, they shall not be left so much as one. Moreover, if he has withdrawn into a city, then all Israel shall bring ropes to that city, and we will pull it into the river until there is not one small stone found there. So Absalom and all the men of Israel said, the advice of Hushai the Archite is better than the advice of Ahithophel. For the Lord had purposed to defeat the good advice of Ahithophel. to the intent that the Lord might bring disaster on Absalom. Then Hushai said to Zadok and Abithar, the priests, thus, and to Ahithophel, advise Absalom and the elders of Israel, and thus, and say, I have advised. Now, therefore, send quickly and tell David, saying, do not spend the night in the plains of the wilderness, but speedily cross over, lest the king of all the people who are with him be swallowed up. Now, Jonathan and Ahimaaz stayed at En-Rogel, for they dared not be seen coming into the city. So a female servant would come and tell them, and they would go and tell the king, David. Nevertheless, a lad saw them and told Absalom that both of them went away quickly and came to a man's house in Bahurim, who had a well in his court, and they went down into it. Then the woman took and spread a covering over the well's mouth and spread ground grain on it, and the thing was not known. And when Absalom's servant came to the woman at the house, they said, where are Ahimaaz and Jonathan? So the woman said to them, they have gone over to the water brook. And when they had searched and could not find them, they returned to Jerusalem. Now it came to pass, after they had departed, that they came up out of the well and went and told King David and said to David, arise and cross over the water quickly, for thus as Ahithophel advised against you. So David and all the people who were with him arose and crossed over by the Jordan. By morning light, not one of them was left who had not gone over the Jordan. Now, when Ahithophel saw that his advice was not followed, he saddled the donkey, arose and went home to his house, to his city. Then he put his household in order and hanged himself and died. And he was buried in his father's tomb. And David went to Mahanaim, and Absalom crossed over the Jordan, and all of the men of Israel went with him. And Absalom made Amasa captain of the army instead of Joab. This Amasa was the son of a man whose name was Jethro, an Israelite, who had gone into Abigail, the daughter of Nahash, sister of Zuriah, Joab's mother. So Israel and Absalom encamped in the land of Gilead. Now it happened when David had come to Manahan that Shobi, the son of Nahash, from Rabbah of the people of Ammon, Machor, the son of Amiel, from Deber, and Barzillai, the Gileadite, from Rogelim, brought beds and basins, earthen vessels, and wheat, barley, and flour, parched grain and beans, lentils and parched seeds, honey and curds, sheep and cheese of the herd, from David to the people who were with him to eat. For they said, the people are hungry and weary and thirsty in the wilderness. These names are killing me, guys. We are at chapter 18. Chapter 18 reads, and David numbered the people who were with him and set captains of thousands, of captains of hundreds over them. Then David sent out 1/3 of the people under the hand of Joab, and 1/3 the hand of Abishai, the son of Zuriah, Joab's brother, and 1/3 under the hand of Letai, the Gittite. And the king said to the people, I also will surely go out with you myself. But the people answered, you shall not go out, for if we flee away, they will not care about us, nor if half of us die, will they care about us? But you are worth 10,000 of us, for you are now mere help to us in the city. Then the king said to them, whatever seems best to you I will do. So the king stood beside the gate, and all the people went out by hundreds and by thousands. Now the king had commanded Joab, Abishai, and Letai, saying, "Deal gently, for my mistake with them, with the young man Absalom." And all the people heard when the king gave all the captains orders concerning Absalom. So the people went out into the field of battle against Israel. And the battle was in the woods of Ephraim. The people of Israel were overthrown there before the servants of David, and a great slaughter of 20,000 took place there that day. For the battle were there was scattered over the face of the whole countryside, and the woods devoured more people that day than the sword devoured. When Absalom met the servant of David, Absalom rode on a mule. The mule went under the thick boughs of the great terebinth tree, and his head caught in the terebinth tree. So he was left hanging between heaven and earth, and the mule which was under him went on. Now a certain man saw it and told Joab and said, "I just saw Absalom hanging in a terebinth tree." So Joab said to the man who told him, "You just saw him, and why did you not strike him there to the ground? I would have given you 10 shekels of silver and a belt." But the man said to Joab, "There I were to receive 1,000 shekels of silver in my hand. I would not rise my hand against the king's son. For in our hearing the king commanded you and Abishai and Letai, saying, Beware lest anyone touch the young man Absalom. Otherwise, I would have dealt falsely against my own life. For there is nothing hidden from the king, and you yourself would have set yourself against me." Then Joab said, "I cannot linger with you." And he took 3 spears in his hands and thrust them through Absalom's heart while he was still alive in the midst of the terebinth. And 10 young men who bore Joab's armor surrounded Absalom and struck and killed him. So Joab blew the trumpet, and the people returned from pursuing Israel. But Joab held back the people, and they took Absalom and cast him in a large pit in the woods, and set a very large headstone, heap of headstones over him. Then all Israel fled, everyone to his tent. Now Absalom in his lifetime had taken and set upon a pillar for himself, which in the king's valley. For he said, "I have no son to keep my name in remembrance." He called the pillar after his own name. Until this day it is called Absalom's monument. Then Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, said, "Let me run now and take the news to the king, how the Lord has avenged him of his enemies." And Joab said to him, "You shall not take the news this day, or you shall take the news another day. But today you shall take no news. Become the king's son is dead." And Joab said to the Cushite, "Go, tell the king what you have seen." So the Cushite bowed himself to Joab and ran. And Ahimaaz said, the son of Zadok, said again to Joab, "But whatever happens, please let me also run after the Cushite." So Joab said, "Why will you run, my son, since you have no news ready?" "Whatever happens," he said, "let me run." So he said to him, "Run." And Ahimaaz ran by a way of the plain and outran the Cushite. Now David was sitting between the 2 gates, and the watchman went up to the roof over the gate to the wall, lifted his eyes and looked, and there was a man running alone. And the watchman cried out and told King, and King said, "If he is alone, there is news in his mouth." And he came rapidly and drew near. Then the watchman said, "Another man running." And the watchman called the gatekeeper and said, "There is another man running alone." And the king said, "He also brings news." So the watchman said, I think the running of the first is like running of Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok." And the king said, "He is a good man, and he comes with good news." So Ahimaaz called out and said to the king, "All is well." And he bowed down with his face to the earth before the king and said, Blessed be the Lord your God. He has delivered up the man who raised their hand against my lord the king." The king said, "Is the young man Absalom safe?" Ahimaaz answered, "When Joab sent the king's servant and me, your servant, I saw a great tumult but I did not know what it was about. And the king said, turn aside and stand here. So he turned aside and he stood still. Just then the Cushite came. And the Cushite said, there is good news, my lord the king, for the Lord has avenged you this day all those who rose against you. And the king said to the Cushite, is the young man Absalom safe? So the Cushite answered, may the enemies of my lord the king and all who rouse against you today to do harm be like that young man. Then the king was deeply moved and went up to the chamber of the gate and wept. And as he went, he said thus, O my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died in your place. O Absalom, my son, my son. Chapter 19, and it reads, and Joab was told, behold, the king is weeping and mourning for Absalom. So the victory that day was turned into mourning for all the people. For the people heard it said that day that the king is grieved for his son, and the people stole back into the city that day, as people who are ashamed steal away when they flee in battle. But the king covered his face, and the king cried out with a loud voice, O my son Absalom, O my son, my son. Then Joab came into the house to the king and said, today you have disgraced all your servants who today have saved your life, the lives of your sons and daughters, the lives of your wives and the lives of the concubines, in that you love your enemies and hate your friends. For you have declared today that you have regarded neither princes nor servants. For today I perceive that if Absalom had lived and all of us had died today, then it would be pleased you well. Now therefore arise, go out and speak, comfort your servants. For I swear by the Lord, if you do not go out, not one will stay with you this night, and that will be worse for you than all the evil that has befallen you from your youth unto now. Then the king arose and sat in the gate, and they told all the people, saying, there is the king sitting in the gate. So all the people came before the king, for every one of Israel had fled to his tent. Now all the people were in a dispute throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, the king saved us from the hand of the enemies. He delivered us from the hand of the Philistines. And now he has fled from the land because of Absalom. But Absalom, who was anointed over us, has died in battle. Now therefore, why do you say nothing about bringing back the king? So David sent to Zadok and Abiathar, the priest, saying, speak to the elders of Judah, saying, why are you the last to bring the king back to his house, since the words of all Israel have come to the king to his very house? You are my brethren, you are my bone and my flesh. Why then are you the last to bring back the king? And say to Amasa, are you not my bone and my flesh? God do so to me, and more also, if you are not commander of army before me continually in the place of Joab. So he swayed the hearts of all the men of Judah, just as the heart of one man, so that they sent this word to the king, you, return you and all your servants. And the king returned and came to Jordan, and Judah came to Gilgal to get to meet the king, to escort the king across Jordan. And Shimei, the son of Gera, a Benjamite, who was from Bahurim, buried and came down, hurried and came down with the men of Judah to meet King David. There were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him, and Ziba the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons and his 20 servants with him. And they went over the Jordan before the king. Then a ferry boat went across to carry over the king's household, and to do what he thought good. Now Shimei the son of Gera fell down before the king when he had crossed the Jordan. Then he said to the king, do not let my lord impute iniquity to me, or remember what wrong your servant did on that day that my lord the king left Jerusalem, that the king should take it to heart. For I your servant, now that I have sinned, know that I have sinned. Therefore, here I am, the first to come today of all the house of Joseph to go down to meet my lord the king. But Abishai the son of Zeruiah answered and said, shall not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed the Lord's anointed? And David said, what have I to do with you sons of Zeruiah, that you should be adversaries to me today? Shall any man be put to death today in Israel? For do I not, know that today I am king over Israel? Therefore the king said to Shimei, you shall not die. And the king swore to him. Now, name me now Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king, and he had not cared for his feet, nor trimmed his mustache, nor washed his clothes for the day the king departed until the day he returned in peace. So it was, when he had come to Jerusalem to meet the king said to him, why did you not go with me? Mephibosheth, and he answered, my lord, my servant deceived me. For your servant said, I will saddle a donkey for myself, that I may ride on it and go to the king, because your servant is lame. And he has slandered your servant to my lord the king. But my lord the king is like an angel of God. Therefore do what is good in your eyes. For all my father's house were but dead men, but my lord the king, yet you set your servants among those who eat at your side. Therefore, what right have I still to cry out any more to the king? So the king said to him, why do you speak any more of your matters? I have said, you and Ziba divide the land. Then Mephibosheth said to the king, rather let him take it all, inasmuch as my lord the king has come back in peace to his own house. And Barzillai the Gileadite came down from Reglaim and went across the Jordan with the king to escort him across the Jordan. Now Barzillai was a very aged man, 80 years old, and he had provided the king with supplies while he stayed at Mahanaim, for he was a very rich man. And the king said to Barzillai, come across with me, and I will provide for you while you are with me in Jerusalem. But Barzillai said to the king, how long have I to live, that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem? I am today 80 years old. Can I discern between the good and the bad? Can your servant taste what I eat or what I drink? Can I hear any longer the voice of a singing man, a singing woman? Why then should your servant be a further burden to my lord the king? Your servant will go a little way across the Jordan with the king, and why should the king repay me with such a reward? Please let your servant turn back again, and that I may die in my own city, near the grave of my father and my mother. But here is your servant, Chimham. Let him cross over with my lord the king, and do for him what seems good to you. And the king answered, Chimham shall cross over with me, and I will do for him what seems good to you. Now, whatever your request of me, I will do for you. Then all the people went over the Jordan, and with the king he crossed over. The king kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned to his own place. Now the king went to Gilgal, and Chimham went on with him, and all the people of Judah escorted the king, and also half the people of Israel. Just then all the men of Israel came to the king and said to the king, why have our brethren, the men of Judah, stolen your way and brought the king, his household, and all David's men with him across the Jordan? So all the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, because the king is also a close relative of ours. Why then are you angry over this matter? Have we ever eaten at the king's expense? Or has he ever given us any gift? And the men of Israel answered the men of Judah and said, we have 10 shares in the king. Therefore, we also have more right to David than you. Why then do you despise us? Were you not the first to advise bringing back our king? Yet the words of men of Judah were fiercer than the words of the men of Israel. That's the 4 chapters. Wow. So we got a lot to unpack. So in a short time. So let's talk about what we saw. So we see Absalom, son of David. We see Absalom, a son of David. And Absalom, what he does is David leaves his concubines to take care of the home. I believe it was 10. He left. So what they tell Absalom is to emasculate. Basically, that's what it was. To emasculate your father, to assert your dominance over your father. Go sleep with his concubines. So they pitch a tent, and they want all Israel to see that your son is in fact taking what's yours, not just the home, but the essence of what is in the home. The women are there to take care of the home. And, we always have that saying that, a house is not a home. A wife makes a house a home. We've all heard that saying. So they give him that advice. And what's so crazy is he asserts dominance over his father. And you see that the sin that David had committed is now coming back full circle on him, right? The confusion of Israel is back. Confusion of Israel is all back. And this is the start of the fall. Now we see the Lord is having things happen on the other side. Again, I don't have that much time, so I'm going to try and finish this up quickly, right? So what we see in this is a lot of backstabbing, a lot of confusion, a lot of conniving. And then we start to see the similarities, because that's my thing. My thing is always to show you the similarities of the Old Testament and the New, the similarities of Christ being in the Old Testament and Christ being in the New Testament, right? So the simplicities of it is David is backstabbed by someone that was close to him, his son. Christ is backstabbed by someone that was close to him. We know that to be Judas, right? So both parties have a similar ending, meaning Absalom is killed, Absalom is dead, Judas is dead. So the similarities doesn't stop there. Christ is the last king of Israel, and is backstabbed, just like David was. Now, the difference between the two is, where are the loyalties? Where are the loyalties? When we see what Absalom was doing, Anthony mentioned it yesterday. This dude was conniving. Now, if David would have done what he needed to do when his daughter was raped, possibly these things wouldn't be going on. But David couldn't do it because he's seen in his son what he did to Bathsheba. And a lot of the times we don't focus on that. A lot of the times we really don't focus on the women. We focus on the men more. We focus on the men who are the main characters, supposed to be the main characters. But these little things are very important, right? Because we're trying not to see the scriptures through Western eyes. We're trying to look at it the way the Lord wanted to deliver these words to us, the way we're supposed to see. So now we're starting to see what was done. What David did is done to him with his concubines. So everything comes full circle. He's backstabbed. Then they say to David, you cry more for the people that tried to kill you than those that are here with you. What's going on? Where is where are you? Anthony made a good point yesterday. The point that he made was David didn't want to be seen as a hypocrite. This is why he didn't kill his son. But Anthony said yesterday, I'd have bit that bullet. I'd have bit that bullet. Take my son's life. Why? Are you going to continue to sin to continue it moving and moving and moving? Or do you take a stand and say, okay, I messed up, but I'm going to do my best to try and get some semblance of righteousness here. Let me end it here. And you did it. And you did it. And that started the psychopath thought process in Absalom, the plotting of killing his brother because he raped his sister. So where are our loyalties, right? Let's parallel it. Are your loyalties towards your king? Or are your loyalties towards Christ? Or do we backstab? When you make your agenda above his, you absolutely backstab him. Absolutely. Now, here's the difference between David and Christ. Christ died for those that backstabbed, so that they would be given a chance to live. Let me say that again. Christ died for those that backstabbed. He died for Judas, people like Judas. He died for those that plotted against him. He died for those that pierced him. He died for those that spit on him. He died for those like you and I, so that we could be given a chance to live in his death. So think about that. Think about the things that, we take for granted, where we put our agenda above God's. That's where sin enters. That's where sin enters. Our loyalty is to the Lord. Nothing comes before him. And he says Absalom's loyalty was to his sister. Your loyalty is to the Father, not to your brother, not to your husband, not to your wife, not to your children. It's to the Father. It's to our Lord and Savior. We have to start to understand that idols are not just a little dude or a little animal that you create and put in a corner and you worship. Idol can be a car, idol can be your husband, idol can be your wife, and idol can be your child. Sit down and think about what Christ has done for us, what he continuously do for us. Guys, I'm impressed. So, Lord willing, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Accept Christ your Lord and Savior, man. And your loyalty should always be to Christ, not to your son, not to your daughter, not to your husband, not to your wife, to Christ. That's where your loyalty should be. All of this madness that you're seeing in David's home is because David's loyalty wasn't to his king. David had put a God above his God when he chose not to take his son's life, when he chose to weep for his son. Even the people are saying, yo, why are you, you're bugging right now. Doesn't mean that you don't hurt. Doesn't mean that you're not going to feel. This is your son. But through all of that, through all of this in our lives, through all the pain, through all the turmoil, through all the things that we think is wrong, our loyalties always should be towards our king. Towards our king. Let's send up this prayer. Guys, Forget, Lord God, we thank you for allowing us to come together this day. Thank you for allowing us to open up our eyes. Thank you for allowing our spirit, our mind, our bodies, and souls to take in this word. We thank you so much. For we are nothing without you, Lord, and we thank you for everything that you continuously do. Lord, we thank you for opening up our eyes so that we see in your word what happens when we do not follow you, what happens when we do not praise our loyalty to you, when we put our agenda above your agenda. We see in real time what happens. This was written for us, not to us, and we're seeing what's happening to these people when they do not show their loyalty to you. When we do not show our loyalty towards you, we see what happens in our lives. I just pray, Lord, that you give us the time, the temperance, the patience to see what is happening, so that we are able to say to ourselves, we need to stop and hand our lives over to you. Great I am. In Jesus' name I pray. Guys, take the time to just look around you. Take 10 to 15 minutes to just be in awe of what the Lord has created for you, what he does for you, what he will continue to do for you, and what he'll always do. There's one thing that we waste so much of, that we have so little of, and that's time. Let this day be the day that you open up your eyes and dedicate your life to Christ. You only have your life to lose if you don't. Let's just keep it all the way real. He died for you so that you can live. If you choose to deny him, you're choosing death. So with that, guys, love yourselves and each other. I love you. Have a good God morning. Lord willing, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Have a blessed day, guys. Love you all.